In my last video, I went over 30 Dragon Ball characters that I think could be added to this game. And I said in my next video, I would go over 30 Dragon Ball Z characters that would be added to this game. And that may sound difficult considering this game has so much Dragon Ball Z representation, right? I mean, if we look at it, obviously a lot of Goku and Vegeta, they have 3 different iterations just for Dragon Ball Z each, with separate transformations for all of them. Gohan is all Z, Piccolo is all Z, Krillin, so many of these characters, they'd be considered their Z iterations, Android 17, 18, 16, all of the Ginyu Force, so much Z, all the Z villains, right? But there is actually a lot of characters that they could add from Z. So my last video ended with Anin, which is pretty much the final new character we see in the original Dragon Ball. But in between Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z is when the Garlic Jr. movie takes place, the Dead Zone movie. And I think this is kind of the obvious character to add, which is Base Garlic Jr. He was in BT3, and it's kind of weird that it only has Super Garlic Jr., right? Like if we look, Janemba has both, both Base and Super. Cooler has both. Lord Slug has Base and Huge Lord Slug. It feels like it is missing Base Garlic Jr. here. So I'd say number 1 is easy, Base Garlic Jr. Something that was in the original BT3, right? They had basically a Great Ape for every Saiyan, right? So they made up Great Apes for King Vegeta, for Nappa, for Raditz. And I don't think that's necessary, right? But even though I do want a Great Ape for Goku, I think we should add like a generic Great Ape for Saiyan characters, just to be like, this is an example of what a default Saiyan is like. So this is a transformation that maybe could be unlocked, like able to be transformed from if you're playing as like Raditz or Nappa, but it's not their canon transformation, right? It's just a default Great Ape. So that's what, for example, Kid Gohan would be able to transform into, Raditz, Nappa, just default Saiyans, right? So a generic Great Ape meant to represent all Saiyans, because that is what we're shown in the beginning of Z. Raditz explaining how they would turn Great Ape and take over planets, and I think that's an interesting enough feature that I'd like to see it represented in more than just Great Ape Goku and Great Ape Vegeta. But moving on from that, we go from the Raditz fight, and I actually want to add a filler character. I want to add Princess Snake. And most of you probably remember Princess Snake, which is why I want to add her, right? So she was on Serpent Way, on Snake Way, on the road to King Kai, and she was a demon that tried to basically eat Goku, but Goku was too oblivious because she was being seductive about it. And she has allies as well, other demons that were helping her. And I think she's actually super memorable. Like, I've seen people draw fan art of her and everything. So I think Princess Snake should be added to the game. I think she's probably one of the most memorable filler characters, period. And because the Dragon Ball Z anime is so iconic, right? She's probably not going to be the last filler included. But someone who isn't filler, who's very important overall, right? Who I think should also be added is King Kai, right? So King Kai, I'll just play this in the background.
You kidnapped my son, Gohan. Then you hurt Ox King and Chi-Chi too. Now you're gonna pay.
Goku, one of the world's greatest, fighting in the name of such a worthless cause. What a waste.
So I set this to be computer versus computer, so I don't get distracted while talking. Because I did edit some of that out last time when I was getting distracted by the battle. And I noticed that you could hear my button clicking, so I'm gonna just let the computers battle here. But yes, I think King Kai should be added as a playable character because we know he is strong. We know he is a capable fighter. In the anime, we get to see him beat the Ginyu Force. Like, literally, they go to his planet and he just beats them up. So, I mean, it's pretty obvious what, he'd have the Spirit Bomb and Kaioken. So I think King Kai as a playable character is kind of a layup. I mean, BT3 didn't do it, but there's plenty of other Dragon Ball games that have done it, and, literally Goku uses his techniques in this game. Like, they already have Kaioken and Spirit Bomb in this game. So it's pretty, to me, it's a layup, and also, you could have Gregory and Bubbles there as cameos, There's a lot to work with. I think it'd be funny if, like, an ultimate was him sealing someone in his planet like he did to Bojack. Yeah, King Kai is, like, there all the time after he's introduced. He's always watching. He's always helping. So I'd say King Kai is a layup for this game. Another layup that I don't know if it needs to be his own character. He could just be a Frieza Force soldier, but Appule. You guys may not know Appule or maybe not remember him, but he was his own character in BT3. And he's kind of generic Frieza Force soldier, but with a name. And I think he probably doesn't have to be his own character. He could be a skin for Frieza Force soldier, but hey, they were separate in BT3. If they wanted to make them separate, I'd find it funny. So therefore, I want Appule in the game as his own slot. And just copy and paste from BT3. I mean, there's enough people that noticed he was gone, including me, so they could do it. Another thing. So there is a character that was made at the same time as the Frieza saga was happening, right? So already Frieza was designed. There was a character named Jiora from another Akira Toriyama project named Saving Soldier Cashman. And he has a kind of... He has like a Frieza crossed with Great Saiyaman look, right? And he has never been in Dragon Ball. But I think he would fit in greatly, right? So I know he technically isn't from DBZ, but he debuted in that era. His design is reminiscent. So I think this character, Jiora, would be a great fit. And he is a fighter, too. Like, he can throw down. So I think it would be a great fit, a great tribute to Toriyama, to that Frieza saga that, it's crazy that at his peak, at Toriyama's peak, he was still making more than just Dragon Ball, right? Like, Toriyama was never someone who was satisfied with just working on Dragon Ball. He was working on Dragon Quest at the same time. He designed monsters for a bunch of different games. He was making his own one-shots and even his own multi-chapter manga, like Saving Soldier Cashman. And Jiora is a pretty good design. I think Jiora could, get some spotlight. Because I feel like of all the Toriyama projects, right, Saving Soldier Cashman doesn't get that much attention. Like, I bet a lot of people don't even know who this character is. So I think we should include them in this game. But, back to characters that are actually in BT3. We have Salza. Now, if you don't remember Salza, I don't blame you. Because he was kind of a generic minion of Cooler. I'm pretty sure he was like French in the dub or something. That's pretty much the only way you'd remember him. He was like blue with like orange hair. And I don't think he's really special, but for some reason, they chose to include him in BT3. And to me, I feel like this game is not complete until they include everyone that was in BT3, right? Because this game is supposed to be an expansion of BT3. And I get why they waited to include that, they felt maybe it wasn't as important to include right away. But I think Salza is someone you should include. And another one that fits Salsa is Zangya. So Zangya is Bojack's minion, the female character, right? And
Did you come here to take care of the annoying Saiyans?
and what's special about Zangya is literally like I feel like they saw the original cast of BT3 and they realized that they needed more female characters, and I think that's why they chose to include Zangya. And you know what? I don't disagree. You know, like, yeah, we have Khalifa and Kale now, but I think we could always go with more. So I would be more happy to see Zangya than Salza, to be honest. And same thing with my next character, which is Fasha, or in Japan, Seripa, right? So this is Bojack's friend, who is this is the female character that was did I say Bojack and Bardock? This is Bardock's friend, right? So Zangya is a Bojack minion, and Fasha is Bardock's friend. I can't believe I keep mixing them up, but yeah. So she was kind of a tough Saiyan, right? And you know, a very popular character back in the day. People would draw, you know, her and Bardock, you know, hanging out and stuff. And she was in BT3, and I liked her inclusion, even though like it felt like she wasn't as important as, you know, some other people. It was still a relevant character that people remembered because it's one of the few Saiyans that like we see of, and one of Bardock's friends. So I think she should join as well, and you know, for more female characters as well. I'd say Zangya and Fasha are over Salza for me, but just to make BT3 feel like, just to make this feel truly as a successor to BT3, I think they should be included as well. And speaking of the Bardock stuff, right? I think Tora should be included, who is Bardock's friend. And not just his friend, but like his best friend, what it seems like. So he's the one that Bardock finds his corpse and puts on the bloody bandana. So this is that friend. This is where Bardock gets the bandana from. And if we're going to be including Fasha, I think we should include Tora as well, because Tora seems to be more important to Bardock than Fasha was. So I'm going to go with adding Tora as a Bardock friend representative. And some of you guys may think, well, this is all original Bardock stuff, right? In this game, it's clearly meant to represent Super Bardock, right? So why don't I include one of his new friends from Dragon Ball Minus or the Broly movie, or maybe even from a certain saga in the manga. And we'll get to manga characters I think should be added in a different video. And that's all super characters, right? So we'll get to that. I'm just talking pure Z characters right now, and there's a lot of Z characters. It's a long series. But yeah, so Tora, Fasha, I think Bardock should have, you know, his own two you know, most important friends here. Just like, you know, Ribrianne has her two minions here. Jiren has Topo and Dispo. So yeah, and next is probably a character a lot of you expected to be in this game, right? So a character that people, you know, a character that's pretty iconic that people will just like expect to be in the game. And that character is Pikkon, right? So Pikkon, you'll recognize him by his design. It seems Piccolo inspired. He is from Otherworld and one of the strongest fighters there, and he's pretty much the secondary main character of the Otherworld tournament. Costume. And then he joins Goku and Vegeta in fighting Janemba in the Fusion Reborn movie, right?
Not you too.
And seeing Janemba in this game without Pikkon actually felt kind of off to me, because Pikkon was like such a staple of the series back in the day. You know, he'd be in every video game. He was in BT3. He was in all the video games. So I think Pikkon... I think Pikkon is going to end up in this game one day as DLC. This is probably one of my predictions I feel most safe of, because he is so popular. he was like an equal to Goku in that Otherworld tournament and helped defeat Janemba. Like he figured out Janemba's weakness and everything. So yeah, I think Pikkon is a layup. I don't think anyone's going to disagree with Pikkon. Pikkon's iconic for a reason. But next, someone who had a cameo in the Otherworld tournament, just watching in the background. But someone who I feel like Toriyama probably, like, one of Toriyama's favorite creations. I'm going to go with Ackman from Go Ackman. So this is another character that is not from Dragon Ball, but is a Toriyama character, right? And I think his design, you know, it's kind of a... If Trunks was evil, I guess, well, is kind of his design, but I feel like it's a pretty cool design, and I feel like, you know, he has enough to make a moveset out of. I think he cameoed in Dragon Ball Z, and that's good enough for me. I say put him in it. I'm all for making this game more of a tribute to Toriyama by including characters of all sorts from him in this game, you know. Of course, I love all of Toriyama's work, and I would never say, like, I only like Dragon Ball from Toriyama. I like so much of his work, you know, Dragon Quest, Dr. Slump, Jaco, you know, and Go Ackman, yeah. So, I think Ackman should be playable. And yes, I'm using just that small cameo as evidence. I may not have had that as motivation for Jiora earlier, but I do for Ackman, so I'm going to use it. And I say, let's put Ackman in the game, because let's pay tribute to Toriyama. He deserves it. But, someone a little more obvious that should be in the game, you know, someone who isn't more just who I want, is Supreme Kai, right? And Supreme Kai, he doesn't have that much, like, battle experience, right? But he was in BT3, and Supreme Kai is canonically supposed to be a pretty strong comparatively, right? So he may not be as strong as Goku, Vegeta, Gohan, right? But they were the strongest, like, in the universe at that point. So Supreme Kai, you could say, if he's cell level, that's still impressive, right? He was impressive enough that Piccolo was, he respected him enough to forfeit to him. So I think Supreme Kai, an easy person to put into this game, because I actually like his character a lot, and you know, he's relevant in the Buu Saga and Goku Black Saga, and he's a consistent character, always there. He's most important to Daima too, which is why I think they might have been waiting for Daima to actually add Supreme Kai, which is why he's not in the base game. So I think Supreme Kai is going to be added, and you know, he is, yeah, and by Supreme Kai I mean Shin, of course, but yeah, I think Shin is such a great character design too, and you know, a Supreme Kai would be very fun to have in this game, other than just Zamasu. So I say, yeah, put Supreme Kai, and along with him, put in Kibito. Now, Kibito has even less than Supreme Kai, right? But I think I'm going to skip ahead, right? I also want Kibito Kai, which is most of the reason why I want Kibito. So Kibito, and in the previous BT3, Kibito was not playable, right? Supreme Kai would just transform into Kibito Kai. But I think it's much more, you know, in line of the game mechanics to make it a fusion, not a transformation. So I think it should be Supreme Kai and Kibito Kai Supreme Kai and Kibito confuse into Kibito Kai. I think Kibito is also a funny character because of how he is so against mortals, but he doesn't have, like, the power to back it up. The way he got beaten by Deborah, you know, I think it's funny. I think the fact that he's still like that in Daima, and he still kind of got his problems in Daima, it's a consistent characterization that I find entertaining, which is why I want him in the game. I don't think he'll be strong. I don't think he'll be, like, super strong, but I think the idea of a Supreme Kai attendant is an interesting concept in Dragon Ball, and I'd like to see that represented. And so I'd like Supreme Kai, Kibito, and Kibito Kai, all three of them, in this game. Another character I'd like is someone who was also in BT3 and was actually a work in progress in this game, but couldn't make it prior to release, is Videl as the Great Saiyaman 2. So, you know, from the Wrath of the Dragon movie, Videl was that. So I think that's one of my most, like, favorite sequences in Dragon Ball, right? That animation of just like Great Saiyan Man and Great Saiyan Man 2 posing together, like that's iconic to me. Like that makes me love Gohan and Videl together. And so I think, yeah, let's finish it up. Of course I want all the BT3 characters in here, so of course I want Great Saiyan Man 2, but I actually like love Great Saiyan Man 2's design, so I'd never say no to adding some Great Saiyan Man in here. I mean, this Great Saiyan Man, he would be my main if he had a better moveset in this game, because I actually really like Great Saiyan Man. So of course I also like Videl as a Great Saiyan Man.
There's something about that outfit, Gohan. The more I get used to it, the cooler it gets.
Because you know what it means.
Yeah, I feel like it means so much to, like, it's such a cool arc to have Videl kind of go looking down on Gohan, then starting to respect it, and then becoming even more of a hero herself, right? She was already a hero, we see, like, she was saving buses of people and stuff, and beating criminals with ease, but turning into an actual hero with Gohan just is very cool for their relationship and for Videl's character development. So yeah, Great Saiyan Man 2 is easy. Now, with the end, that's the end of the Buu saga, right? So you think, all right, so that's the end of the characters. So that's not near 30. That is not 30 characters. Well, there's actually a bunch more, right? So let's move on to End of Z, because I think, well, End of Z characters, right? They shouldn't have different movesets from previous characters because they don't really fight on screen or anything, right? But I think End of Z Goten and End of Z Trunks should have their own characters, right? So I think this is our chance to get a grown-up Goten and a grown-up Trunks in the game. And I think they would, I think they both have pretty easy movesets they could pull from, right? Because they both are already fighters in the game, right? Just take some techniques from Goten as a kid and give it to him as an adult, right? Take some movesets from Trunks as a kid and future Trunks, give it to him as End of Z Trunks as an adult, right? And End of Z Trunks especially, right? And End of Z Goten, they could easily, I think they could easily get a costume that would make them GT Goten and GT Trunks. And you could take techniques from that as well. So I think there's a lot you can combine into End of Z Goten, End of Z Trunks, right? So, and they could just be called like Adult Goten, Adult Trunks. You don't have to call them Z End or anything. So I think Adult Goten and Adult Trunks would make good fighters. And I wouldn't put Adult Gotenks yet because he's not in Z. I want to stick with characters that exist right now, right? So I'm just gonna go with canon characters, or not canon, but characters we've seen in animation or at least in manga. So I'd go End of Z Goten and End of Z Trunks, but with no fusion, right? And I don't think we've ever seen them like go Super Saiyan. I mean, they do in GT, but we'll get to that when I make a GT video, which will probably be the next video. Going through this timeline, but yeah. Also, in the End of Z, we have Pan as a kid and Uub as a kid, and I want them both. And I know that may sound like, oh, you want to see these kids get beat up, huh? But it's not. I want to play as them and beat other people up with the kids.
Are you hurt, ma'am?
Damn, Great Saiyan Man had no mercy for his own girlfriend. That's crazy. Anyways, I think Kid Pan and Kid Uub would be, like, very cute, in this game. Like, I'm a big fan of that End of Z arc, where we see Pan as like, the kid who just wants to fight and she, like, beats Goten. Like, I know that probably, pisses people off, that power scaling or whatever, but I think it's, like, so cute that she was able to beat Goten, sorry. In my mind, she goes on to win the tournament. And, Don't
you hold anything back, Uub!
Show me all you got.
in my mind, yeah, Pan goes on to win the tournament. And, you know, Goku recruiting Uub is also a very cute moment, right? Like, you know, maybe I don't like the end where he just, like, leaves the tournament in the middle of it and leaves his family to go train Uub. But, I think he could just instant transmission back, so it's not a big deal, right? But I think Pan and Uub is, like, they have so much potential to be, like, rivals. And, you know, I don't think GT did that well, but, you know, they represent, you know, the future of the franchise. So I think seeing them as kids too, like, would be good, right? And I don't think anyone's expecting them to be like, you know, Super Saiyan 4 level or anything, but I think they would be so fun and cute. You know, we have Goten and Trunks here. Why not have Kid Pan and Kid Uub? But we have Kid Gohan too, who's like super young, right? So that's why I think Kid Pan and Kid Uub could fit as well in this game. Now, I have another character. Now, don't hate me for this, guys. Don't hate me for this. I have another character that's not technically in Dragon Ball, right? It's another Toriyama character. So there's this character named Kajika, who is from a Kajika manga, right? Or maybe it's Kajika. I don't think I've ever heard it pronounced. I'm going to hope it's Kajika, because that sounds more right. So it was made 1998. And it's about a strong fighter named Kajika who's kind of has a pirate motif going on. He's like a monster kid. He seems almost like a Dragon Quest character, right? But he's still... I believe he's referenced in Dragon Ball at some point. I think he has... he makes a cameo in Dragon Ball Heroes. I don't count that. Everyone makes a cameo there. But I think he actually is like a very cool design, very Toriyama design. And listen, he may not be in Dragon Ball Z, but this video is what suits him best, right, to be included in, because he came out in that Dragon Ball Z era of the late 90s. You know, Dragon Ball Z is very 90s. So I think this, of all places, would be where to fit Kajika. And another character, I'm sorry that I have so many Toriyama characters, but I can't help it. You know, I love his art, I love his character design. You know, I think this game should be a tribute to Toriyama. So Kajika is not the last one, right? I want Beelzebub from Sandland in the game. And that was actually a pretty popular opinion, right? Because Sandland was getting a lot of attention, right? It was getting anime, it was getting a game, and people thought he would be in this game just because they were giving him so much attention. Now, he didn't end up actually getting into the game, but I don't think it's too late to include him, right? So I think Beelzebub would be a very interesting character, and I think also, like, he'd have interactions with Deborah, and I think, you know, this game, if we just canonize Deborah as, like, you know, Beelzebub's father, like, have Deborah and basically Lucifer from Sandland confirmed to be the same character in this game, because they have the same design, right? And you could give Deborah another costume based on Beelzebub's dad, and then, you know, that'd be fun interactions right there. Imagine, like, the what if stories, you know, they could create, like Goku and Gohan versus Deborah and Beelzebub. I think Beelzebub, you know, he's a rascal. He'd have a lot of cute interactions with people, and, you know, he'd have, you know, unique gimmicks, unique movesets. So, and, you know, Sandland was more relevant than ever because of that movie and that anime in that game. So I think Beelzebub would be good. Another that's like I can't pinpoint just one thing he's in, right? Because he was in a bunch of things. But I think we should add a Super Saiyan Bardock to this game. So Super Saiyan Bardock is not something that, you know, existed in canon, because obviously he died. He never got the chance to go Super Saiyan. But there is multiple, you know, Dragon Ball material that isn't canon, but features a Super Saiyan Bardock. And I think we should pull from those to add Super Saiyan Bardock. And, you know, I think obviously there's the episode of Bardock, you know, manga and anime. I don't really like that OVA or the plot at all. So I'm not going to say we're going to take it from that. I think we're just gonna, kind of do a hodgepodge of every Super Saiyan Bardock through all of the supplemental media of Dragon Ball and put that in the game. And yeah, that's all I'm asking for. So next on the list is someone from another OVA. An OVA I like quite a bit, actually. And kind of a character I feel like inspired Cabba. I think Tarble should be added to the game. And I know you guys are saying he's not much of a fighter, right? Let me give Tarble someone funny to fight. So, I mean, not Tarble, Cabba. They kind of merged in my mind a little bit. So, yeah, I actually really like Tarble in that OVA. Like, I think that OVA is really good and holds up pretty well. It's just a fun watch. And, like, even though he isn't the strongest, right? He's not said to be a fighter. He's still strong enough that he held off two people that, Gotenks couldn't beat, right? So Tarble is, around the level of Gotenks. That's, like, strong. So I think Tarble should be in the game, right? And, he's related to Vegeta. They gave King Vegeta a moveset in the last game, right? It'd be easy to just give Tarble a moveset in this game. And Tarble, I think, is actually a more interesting character than King Vegeta. Tarble's actually still around. He would have, a nice relationship with Trunks. With Goten, because they helped him out, And he was friendly with all of them, I think also his wife is very funny. The fact that he's just like he's an alien, so he doesn't see the problem with his alien wife, but to the humans they see it as weird, and I think that's funny. But yeah, I mean I'm just saying the reason I like Tarble, and I think Tarble he'd just be fun in the game. I want to play as him. I'd love to do Tarble versus Cabba. Tarble versus Cabba. Let's include Kid Trunks in there too. Let's get a family reunion. Yeah. So yeah, let's put Tarba, and also like. In the OVA, right, Tarble was set to fight, it's like Abo and Kado, who are the aliens that were, Frieza Force remnants, like, attacking his planet. And I don't think we need both of them, right? But they do fuse into one, and I say we include that, and then we could recreate the OVA, right? So we could have Cabba fight them, and then, Goten and Trunks fight them, and then they fuse into Gotenks and fight them. And then Goku comes in and finishes it. Like, that's... You can do all that just with Akka. And I think the Yo Son Goku and his friends return OVA is so underrated. Like, it's very fun. Like, I think more people would have watched it if it was officially dubbed. But, like, guys, the Japanese voices are overhated, right? I think the Japanese voices are good. Maybe I wouldn't make, poor Masako voice all those Gokus, but... I think, some representation for that OVA would be awesome. So I do say Tarble and Akka, together could be cool.
The next time you try to face me, I won't let you off so easily.
Was that a typo right there? You won't let you off so easily? But yeah, I think that's funny. Cabba just beat Broly. But yeah, back to new characters, right? This one might be you know what? I'll save it for last. Next character. Extremely obscure. Very obscure. I want... as a new Broly, right? Everyone loves Broly. God Broly. And God Broly is pretty much a unique transformation from Dragon Ball 4D, The Ride. So this is a Dragon Ball Ride where you... help Goku and Vegeta fight Broly, who has ascended into God Broly. And that makes no sense, right? But I kind of like it for it, and I feel like it's something that puts Z Broly on the same level as, like, Super Saiyan Blue Goku and Vegeta. So I think people would go crazy for that. And also it fits into, like, the God exploration that Dragon Ball Super goes for. And also, like, I love just getting obscure with the characters we put into this game. I think, like, some super transformation for Broly would be very fun. So, yeah, I'm going God Broly. Character less obscure, everyone knows. Jaco. I like his manga a lot. With Bulma's sister and like that final chapter, which revealed all the connections with Dragon Ball Z, or just Dragon Ball in general.
Very soon, you will experience a fate worse than death.
Okay, so yeah, Jaco. Put Jaco in the game. I like Jaco. He's funny. It's pretty easy. Just give him a bunch of moves with his little laser gun. Give him a move where he just hits someone with it, summons his UFO and hits someone with it. He's relevant, obviously, in Super. And he will be relevant in the manga, so, no spoilers for the manga, but Jaco will come back. If the rest of Super is ever animated, Jaco will be important. So I'm not going to spoil, but I think Jaco should be playable because of it, and he helps out. He's taking down criminals constantly, just because he can't deal with, the Beerses of the world and the Freezes of the world. It doesn't mean he's not strong. He's dealing with space criminals all the time. Jaco, he belongs in the game. And, another character, right? This is a character I forgot to mention in the last video. So, this is actually a character from Dragon Ball that I wanted, but I didn't mention him in the last video. And that's Lucifer. And you might be confused, because earlier I said in Sandland, Beelzebub's dad was like, Deborah is called Lucifer. But there's actually a non-canon Lucifer, right? And that's Lucifer from Dragon Ball movie, Sleeping Princess, and Devil's Castle. Now, I know these movies are less popular than Dragon Ball Z movies, but this movie's aesthetic and character design is so unique that Lucifer ends up being like a vampire Goku, and that is so fun to me. And he is a fighter, right? So he was stronger than Krillin at that point, and his plan was basically block out the sun. So, damn, Broly's so edgy. But he was going to block out the sun to basically let the creatures of the night live forever. So I think he'd be a very fun character. A whole vampire in Dragon Ball would be so fun. So I'm going to say, that's an addendum to my last video. I added Lucifer. But we're on our final characters for this. And one of the characters I have in mind is Neko Majin Z. So if you've read Neko Majin, you'd know just how big of a deal Neko Majin Z is to Dragon Ball, because Goku takes him on as his assistant, right? This isn't something that is not in the Dragon Ball universe. This is something that is connected to Dragon Ball through he meets with Goku and Vegeta, and he fights, Frieza's son, and he fights a Super Saiyan. This is not a manga, I may have been self-serving, and put some manga characters I like that aren't really connected to Dragon Ball, even though they're Toriyama creations, right? Neko Majin Z is literally a Dragon Ball character at that point, right? He's like a self-parody, but still in the universe of Dragon Ball. So I think let's put Neko Majin Z in Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. I think Neko Majin is a very cool design. It's obviously kind of connected to Majin Buu. So yeah, let's put Neko Majin Z in. He'd be fun, and he'd have so many costumes he could have because of all the other Neko Majins. If you don't know, there's Neko Majins for every letter of the alphabet. So there's a lot to pick from, and also there's. The manga doesn't just cover Neko Majin Z, right? That's just the one that's most connected to Dragon Ball. It actually covers a bunch of different Neko Majin. But I think Neko Majin Z is the obvious one, because he's the one that trained with Goku. So I think Neko Majin Z would be a super fun character in this game. So, if you've been counting, that's 29 characters so far. And you know what? If you don't count Lucifer as one of the characters, because I know I forgot him in the last video, fine. I'll tell you, let's put King Vegeta back from BT3. Alright, there you go. 29 Dragon Ball Z characters that I've listed. Now, this last one is going to be controversial. Has anyone here ever heard of Cross Epoch? It is a It is a crossover between Dragon Ball and One Piece, written by Akira Toriyama and Ichiro Oda. I don't know if I pronounced that right, because I never said his name out loud other than the Oda, but it was written by both of them. And I think it would be very cute, very fun. I believe Namco Bandai owns the rights to One Piece in video games, so they could do it. I think Goku and Luffy should be... I think Luffy would be such a fun guest character in this game, right? And I'm not saying he gets, all his transformations and all his stuff from his own game, right? He is a guest character, right? So, Smash Bros, for example, they have a ton of guest characters. Sonic, and you get to have Mario and Sonic fight, even though Sonic's not a Nintendo character, and in Mortal Kombat, you got Omni-Man and Homelander, and in Street Fighter, they just added Terry and Mai. So I think fighting games do great with guest characters, right? You can Soul Calibur, it's famous for that. 2B and back in the day Link. So I think Luffy is the character that makes the most sense to be a guest character, because it's kind of the manga that took the throne from Dragon Ball, right? Like, Dragon Ball was the biggest, and then came One Piece, and it's now the biggest, and it's outsold Batman and everything. So I think I think Dragon Ball and One Piece, that's not the only time they've crossed over, right? There's also that they've had multiple animations, right? They have an OVA where they cross over, along with Toriko, which I think is kind of dated. I don't think Toriko is that iconic anymore, so it's not like I would include that in this. But Luffy's gonna stay iconic, right? One Piece is gonna stay as popular as Dragon Ball, right? And yeah, maybe it's not as popular in the West, but in all of the world, yeah, One Piece is super popular. So I think Monkey D. Luffy, like, just base form, most iconic form, would be very fun crossover to the game. I think you can get a lot of One Piece fans playing this game just because he's in it. I think it'd be neat to see him clash with the characters of this style. Like, think about the characters that can squash and stretch, and see how they interact with Luffy. He's a pirate. See how he interacts with pirates of this game, like BoJack and like Turles. So I don't, the big arguments against me for this episode, right, is gonna be the sanctity of this game, right? How dare you include characters that aren't Dragon Ball, with specifically Luffy, Jiora, Beelzebub, and Kajika, right? And also kind of God Broly. God Broly is like the most obscure, but I think people would be like, oh, that's so raw, so they'd want it, right? But if you disagree with me, I completely understand. If you think, I'm going too fanficky, too fan servicey with these non-Dragon Ball characters. But I just think when you look at the fact that Shueisha, owns, Shonen Jump owns Dragon Ball and One Piece, and they have the same publishing company, and we've seen them cross over through, J-Stars and Jump Force. And like crossover, with the authors writing them. The authors seem to be friendly. They've drawn each other's characters. I think there's reason for Luffy, and I want to pay tribute, which is why I want, Neko Majin Z and Jiora and, all those others. I think God Broly might be the most interesting choice I have here, because most of you probably don't know who God Broly is. But I think just as you wouldn't have to give him anything. It would mostly be a design change, right? From Z Broly and some, special effects on his moves. So I don't think it'd be an insane amount of effort, but Broly is so popular, right? Like, he's on the box art for a reason. He feel, a lot, the characters that represent, Budokai Tenkaichi, you could argue is like Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta and like Z Broly. So giving Z Broly like an advanced transformation, I think it would appeal to the fan base of this game. And of course, like, let's complete this movie series, right? With a base Garlic Jr. and a Pikkon next to Janemba, you know, just like Tapion is there next to Hirudegarn. So yeah, that's all the characters I want in Dragon Ball Z, right? And next video, I'll go over the GT characters I want in this game. Now, I don't know if I'll be able to get 30, right? So next video will probably be shorter. But make sure to like and subscribe so you can watch that video. You might want to turn notifications on because, well, so you don't miss the video. You know, a lot of people these days don't rely on the subscription menu. They rely on the home screen to send them things. So I say let's, this is such a random matchup, but I should say put on notifications so you don't miss it in your home screen, because you never know what your home screen's going to give you. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. Please, I want to see your arguments for or against some of my characters in the comments. You know, if you approve of Lucifer and Beelzebub and God Broly. And I know all of you are going to agree with Great Saiyaman too. If you don't disagree with putting her in, then I'm going to argue. But everyone else, like, I want to see all your arguments. Because these characters, you know, a lot of these characters are almost like guilty pleasures of that I want them in the game. But yeah, that's all for me. I hope you guys enjoyed.